Hello there, Dissectomaniacs. I am Andrew Leno, one half of the Mega Podcasting Powers, and that is not usually my line. But today it's my line because I have a whole bunch of lines because I've created a web series. My best friend Ben and I have created a series called Who the F Are These Guys? It's a very queer romp written for queer people by queer people. You can check us out on YouTube. The channel is Who the F Are These Guys? Go ahead and subscribe there. The pilot episode will be dropping October 15th. And you can also check out our Facebook page, Who the F Are These Guys? And the rest of our social media will be trickling out pretty soon. So go ahead and over there and you can see we'll be releasing some promo photos and maybe some clips from the pilot or, things left on the cutting room floor. It's going to be a great time. Go check us out. That's Who the F, as in EFF, Are These Guys. So if it's all one word, it's WHOTHEFFARETHESEGUYS.
Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am Trip Leno, one half of the Mega Podcasting Powers. And with me, as always, is a man who knows that with just 2 pieces of wood, you have yourself a radio drama door, the sound of a gun, and many people dancing on a wooden floor. The Macho Mandrew.
Andrew Leno.
We are concluding our 2-part Spooktacular that's not so spooky with the Gene Wilder Gilda Radner movie?
Radner.
I guess.
You said Gilda Radner?
Gilda Radner.
You said Gilda Radner.
I don't think I did.
Play the tape.
Movie with the utmost question mark afterwards. Haunted
It's a
Honeymoon.
real air quotes movie.
Yes. But we watched Haunted Honeymoon, so you know what that means.
We gotta go back. We gotta go dissect the 80s. It's your radio program. Something's gotta be done about your radio program.
When the Mega Powers explode.
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott.
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Mega Powers, yeah.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
So this is about a couple who are famous radio performers who are both a couple on on air?
On air? On air.
Yeah, I was about to say on screen, and I was like, well, that's not it. On air
speaker.
and in life. And they have to go to a haunted house because Gene Wilder's having fear issues. It's really a weird...
Not a damn thing makes sense.
It's ridiculous. Is what it's so easy to do this movie. You just use your aunt died, you have to go to the reading of her will.
Because then you cut out Dom DeLuise, and this movie's so much better.
Well, I mean, look, I'm not gonna say you're wrong about it because it's not exactly the most tolerant gender portrayal. But I will be honest and say that I kind of enjoyed some of the Dom DeLuise stuff.
Really?
I mean, yeah, it's stupid, but I don't know. It reminded me of a Harvey Fierstein-y,
Harvey Fierstein is A, part of the LGBT community, and B, is generally lovable in that sort of aspect. He's known for doing that kind of stuff.
I mean, I'm not saying that it's the same level. Let me be clear that I'm not suggesting that Dom DeLuise in Haunted Honeymoon is to the same level of talent as Harvey Fierstein. I'm just saying, it's the same idea. He's playing a big brassy woman.
That choice never made sense to me. I couldn't figure out why. Even on the IMDb trivia and the production portion of the Wikipedia page, there's no explanation.
I mean, they just wanted to be in the Dom DeLuise business.
I guess it's weird. Nothing in this movie makes sense. Tip to tail, this is just nonsense.
Nose to tail nonsense.
Yeah,
I made
it's
it more
awful.
alliterative. That's all I did. I just made it more alliterative. So we started with these cool 1950s, 1940s
Wait, no, you
style
didn't.
movie credits, very Vincent Price. Pardon?
I said tip to tail, and you said nose to tail. That's not more alliterative. That's less alliterative.
Nose to tail nonsense.
Oh, nose to tail nonsense. Okay.
Are we really? This is how much we don't want to talk about this movie. That you're like, wait, can I parse out the alliteration of the phrase that you're claiming to have said? Because I don't believe that it's true.
Yep. Let's not talk about
is
this stupid
true.
movie.
I didn't make it up. So anyway, we've got these cool 40s, 50s, very Vincent Pricey, House on Haunted Hill era credits, which I
they got
dug.
a great font. It's cool.
And then we have a dead woman hanging out of a house. Is it Dom DeLuise?
No, it's the cousin that's later.
So we have a dead woman, liberal air quotes, as we'll find out later. And then we see a wolf man. And then cut to...
The lady's wig flies off, and it's clearly a man under there.
Yes. And then cut to Gilda Radner and Gene Wilder. Wow, that took way too long.
I was gonna help you, but I was like, he couldn't possibly have forgotten Gene Wilder's last name. He's trying to remember the plot points.
In the editing, that pause is not going to be there because it does it automatically. But I can just promise you,
leave it in for the end. Drop it in the end.
There was like I just it will automatically delete that silence out. But there was a long pause there. So they're voiceover actors for the radio, and they this is where. Hold on, let me finish my thought because I'm obviously having a bad brain tonight. This is where I got confused immediately off the bat because so we have this like little werewolf thing, and then it's like smash cut to the radio performers who are doing like the same play as they're performing at the house. And so there's this like weird level of meta narrative happening for this whole movie where this psychiatrist is like testing Gene Wilder and doing stuff to him, which is fine, but there's this like weird meta narrative thing happening, and like you never quite know what's real and what isn't. And then the other,
and it's not in a fun, like distinctive, like in the movie Sucker Punch, you're aware of like when reality is broken, like you know when you change, and like you're there. And this movie just is so it feels like it's a watercolor painting that they spilled water on, and they were like, fuck it, put it up.
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate statement because I lost my train of thought there. But coming back to it, at the end of the movie, the actors are getting married in real life, you think, and then it cuts to them in the studio, and they're doing the lines continuously. So it's almost as if the whole thing has been a sham. And then there's a car driving down the road, and it turns around, and there's a wolf man. It's like, well, wait, what in this movie was real and fake? You can't just pick and choose arbitrarily as you go. You have to have a base reality, okay, movie?
Yeah, it was like worse than Inception.
So anyway, they're on this radio drama, and it's a commercial break, and somehow during the live commercial break of this, which is like 2.5 minutes, the two stars get whisked into another room to get interviewed by the media, and then like
no, I don't think it's another room. I think the media gets whisked into their room.
Well, whatever. The idea that they're doing a 2.5 minute interview during the production of this live show, like it's not like at the commercial breaks at SNL, A.D. Bryant does like a quick phoner with Entertainment Weekly. Like that's not how this works. They have a job to do.
Although now I want to see that sketch.
Yeah, I mean, they could look. I'm sure that they could handle it, but it's the idea that like the main star is getting, like, I have a break. Let me drink my tea. Oh, just kidding. I have to do an interview now.
Yeah, it is kind of weird, and like I feel like that scene should have established a lot, and it didn't really.
Well, it did give you a couple of pieces, but you're absolutely right. It should have been much more than it was, but it did give you. Like, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I'm so in love with this woman who, by the way, they were married in real life.
Yeah, it was just a cute little thing.
And then this, like, psychiatrist comes in, and the psychiatrist is like, oh, he's got the yips. He's been scared. I can help him, blah, 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 blah.
Because he, like, starts to talk about his proposal day and goes into this full-on PTSD shock mode.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. And honestly, Gene Wilder does a pretty good job with this kind of split personality nonsense. It's kind of right in his wheelhouse. But
yeah,
it's just like this movie's a freaking mess.
I need consistency. I need to understand what's happening to some degree. Like I don't mind if you don't show me all the cards, but like I need to know what game we're playing.
Yes,
Basically,
exactly.
I thought we were playing solitaire, and then all of a sudden you put down a red 4 and went Uno. And I was like, oh, okay.
Suddenly someone slapped a draw 4 on you, and you were like, wait. This is poker.
I thought this was Slapwitch.
Oh, man, Slapwitch. I haven't thought about that game in a minute.
I love Slapwitch. I was playing Slapwitch with a friend in college, and one of the cards that you're supposed to slap on is a lady thief, and one of the cards you're not supposed to slap on is like an old woman making a sandwich. And so we got a little overeager, and my best friend Heather slapped the old lady in the face and then realized what she'd done and went, "Stop! Old lady making a sandwich! Stop!"
In case people don't know, Slapwitch is a card game like ostensibly for children that is like,
It's
you know,
like
coordinated
War?
slapping. Yeah, it's kind of like War, yes. Anyway, the other thing I would have...
Slapwitch, Chex Blaster. We're like naming all the top references.
It's like 1994 up in this piece. The other thing that I've realized over the last 6 months is... So I have always said and thought that I liked Gene Wilder movies, but I realized that I have seen like an incredibly small subset of Gene Wilder movies, and that he has a much larger catalog than I was aware of, and a lot of it is really bad. Like, not just,
But
you know...
is he bad?
No, never.
Or are the movies bad?
The movies are bad.
That's the distinction.
Yeah. And he was Spielberg apparently tried to talk him into being essentially the Wizard of Oz Willy Wonka character for Ready Player One, which comes out next year, and he turned it down. Yeah, it would have been really great having read that book. Like, it would have been a good casting choice, but that movie looks like a total mess, by the way. People keep asking me if I'm excited about it because it's like so 80s centric, and I was like, no, it looks like a mess. And then I remembered, I remembered really enjoying the book. It was like a summer, beach read. And then somebody started posting passages of it on Twitter, and I was like, wow, this is really poorly written, and I like totally didn't notice at all. But anyway, it's one of those, like, sometimes you like a thing and then kind of forget about it. It's like, it's like a candy bar, right? Like, you enjoy it, but it's a fleeting. And then later someone's like, do you know that candy bar is full of rat turds? And you're like, is it real? And then you look at the wrapper and it's like all rat turds. You're like, well, I guess I got fooled. Thanks Candy Corporation. Thanks, Big Candy. Anyway,
we're gonna get Big Candy on our ass so fast. Right after Ed
Candy
Begley
is
Jr.
coming. Ed and Big Candy are coming down hard. I really like the behind the scenes of radio drama stuff. I really
loved all the little tricks of the guy who was supposed to be on the phone talk through a horn. So it sounded like this, and you can be on the phone.
Yeah. And I made the joke earlier about like using 2 pieces of wood to be a lot of things, but the guy has like a fake door, and they got a creaky door and a slammy door.
It's like our grandmother used to have.
Yeah, she used to do this kind of thing. They would do live reading radio plays on stage, and she would do sound effects. But it was cool to see it in what I'm assuming was a fairly accurate representation of what serialized radio dramas were produced in. I don't know.
It seemed pretty accurate.
Yeah, I don't know how many of them were actually produced live back in those days. I'm sure some of them might have been, but the studio, I imagine, is pretty accurate. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So this psychiatrist comes in and is like, hey, Gene Wilder's got PTSD, and I got to figure it out. And then we learned this thing that if he's a werewolf, he can't say the letter W, so Gilda keeps tricking him into saying W sounds.
And he like starts to do them, but then he's laughing uncontrollably, and as the audience member, we have no idea that that's not supposed to happen.
Right.
Like, there's no indication that that's not the line, or that's not how it's supposed to be read.
Until a character is literally like, he's not supposed to be doing that, which is just bad writing. Like, that's such bad writing.
That's the best way of making a movie. Tell, don't show.
Yeah, just explicitly have characters state things. It's good. It's good for you. So this
is a good fight scene.
So I'm just imagining Wesley and Inigo Montoya saying that to each other as they're doing the sword fight in Princess Bride. Like,
that I'd be fine with, but I was picturing like you just like if they said that to each other as they're doing like front flips and back flips, Which they did all themselves except for the like gymnastics flip.
Yeah. So the uncle is like, all right, I want to do a cure. And at this point, I was like, oh, clearly this won't be his uncle, and it's some sort of like weird subterfuge. But I don't know if that's true or not, because this movie has all these people show up and doesn't explain who the heck anyone is.
There's zero. I was like, wait a minute. We can't just start like bandying around names as though we all know we got a primer. We don't have a family tree. I don't know who any of these people are.
And it's so easily solved by just having Gene Wilder arrive first and then greet all of these people. And instead, like, they show up at this castle, Gene and Gilda, and then all these people start showing up, and they're just other people.
What they should have done, it should have been Gene Wilder arrives last. Everyone is in the foyer.
Having a cocktail or something.
Yeah. Oh, cousin blah, blah, blah. And your girlfriend, Schmoopy Pie. And blah, like, just go down the line.
And this is my fiance. Like, it's so easy to do. So there's also a scene where Dom DeLuise, who's the aunt, who's the matriarch of this whole clan, I guess, is drafting her last will and testament and has changed her will to basically be either Gene
Wilder gets everything.
No one gets any.
If he dies first.
Yeah.
No, Gene Wilder gets all the money. But if he dies first, you all have to split it.
Right.
Which does feel like a big FU to the other kids. I will.
Oh, for sure. So they, like we said, they get to the castle. It's this driving rainstorm, pretty cool looking, and then there's this creepy caretaker who doesn't remember Gene Wilder at all, and then later, 5 minutes later, the same caretaker sees Gene Wilder and is like, "Oh my God, it's Gene Wilder! How are you? I loved you in Willy Wonka." Like, they have this total remembrance.
That boat scene scared me.
But like, I didn't quite understand what that, like, was it supposed to be the other guy in disguise that met him first? Because like later there's some disguises. Like, it never makes any sense why this guy doesn't recognize him. It's a good thing they dropped that little question in there, because they're certainly never going to explain it. That's the other key to good movie making. It's tell, don't show, pose a lot of questions and give zero answers. And the other thing that's like, this movie wanted to be Young Frankenstein, I think.
So bad. So badly.
And they were like, oh, you just put Gene Wilder in a movie and make it old fashioned, and that's how you do a Young Frankenstein. And it's like, no, there's like many, many pieces that have to be there. Yeah. Like, yeah, it's like, that is not, the formula is not Gene Wilder plus Castle. It is like a special type of script with a special type of sense of humor, and also like a deep love of the thing that is making fun of, which someone pointed this out to me, I think I read this or heard it on a podcast. That wasn't like an actual conversation. It was probably a podcast where, like, those spoofy movies that came out in the last decade or so, the thing that they missed is like a genuine deep love of the thing that it's making fun of, which is why the Mel Brooks school of spoof is really funny and works, whereas those are just like, hey, remember Pamela Anderson? She's in a Baywatch bathing suit now. And like,
it's also because a lot of those movies weren't actual jokes. It was literally just, here's the title of another movie. Here's a line from another movie. Here's the title of a different movie.
Yeah.
And somehow this is dialogue. What?
Yeah. I remember you owned one. But I'm sorry for putting you on blast here. You were young. You were
go on. Oh, yeah, back in the day when I was stupid and didn't know what taste was? Of course I did.
You were probably 12, give or take, maybe 14, but it was the one with Alice Hannigan. Date movie,
they tricked me. They tricked me with Alice Hannigan.
And you were like, it's pretty funny. And I was like, really? It looks like hot garbage. You're like, no, it's pretty good. So I took the DVD and I watched it. And first of all, the movie is like 72 minutes long. And to pad it out, they added a 10-minute dance sequence and then a really long credits. So I remember being like, you're like really wrong about this one. And I remember you being like a little bit like, no, I really found that movie very funny. And I remember distinctly having this weird conversation with you where it was like, wow, maybe we don't like the same things. But I think it was just that weird in-between period.
It was when you're just too young to know better.
Yeah, I'm not, again, I put you on blast. I apologize for it. It's not like I didn't like garbage movies too.
Oh yeah, of course. But then there were garbage movies that I still like. Super Mario Brothers movie. I will unapologetically love that movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think that movie is not fun bad, but you do, and that's fine.
But like, it basically feels how Hollywood executives and studios feel now, where they're like, "Oh, that movie was successful because it had an R rating and it was about a superhero. Let's make an R-rated superhero movie." And it's like, no, there's some other pieces. Like,
there's so many other things. You're skipping
That's not
all the
why
pieces.
that works.
It's like,
wait a minute, that movie was a franchise based in the 80s. Let's turn that into a movie and do nothing else about the script. No, you can't. Nope. Please don't. Please don't.
I picture them like it's like 1,000-piece puzzle, right? And so it takes like a long time to do a big puzzle like that. And they're just like, anybody got any scissors? And they just start like cutting pieces to make them fit. And then in the end, like the puzzle is together, but there's only like 485 of the 1,000 pieces. The rest are just like torn to bits. And they're like, yeah, there's a puzzle right there. That's what we wanted, right? And you're like, no, nobody wanted that. That's not what we want. That's not the thing we liked.
What about all these holes that you made because you didn't fit the pieces together? Nah, it's not a thing.
They start dumping glue on it. It's like, no, that's not.
Cover them in
that's not how
GIFs.
this works. That's not how this works. Because I guarantee you, the lesson that is learned from it, and we will, you know, as we talked about in our bonus episode, is not going to be that people want more R-rated horror. It's going to be like, we need to have a bunch of kids, and then the kids need to be sweared and stuff. It's like, no, I don't. Fine, whatever you want.
We'll remake Monster Squad.
I would be fine with that. We've talked about this at length. The Monster Squad is a perfect candidate for a remake. Nobody has seen it. It's beloved by us, but it's not that great of a movie by movie making standards. Not. If you
as long as you get all the kids from it, I'm fine with it. Just put the kids from it in Monster Squad. They're great.
But here's what you do: you update it just like it, and you have the kids fighting Freddy, Jason, and Michael Myers.
I agree. That would be pretty cool. Maybe throw like a Candyman in there or something.
Yeah, I mean a Chucky is probably more logical.
Oh,
anyway,
yeah,
let's talk about
I
this.
like that.
Let's talk about this dumb movie. So there's this like mysterious knock at the door, and then this guy hypnotizes the butler, and then it's like smash cut from this. Sorry, the maid. Yes, smash cut from the maid being hypnotized to saying goodnight to Gilda because they're sleeping in separate bedrooms, even though they're like about to get married.
It's the night before the wedding, I think, was the implication.
Oh, all right. That's much more reasonable than that. Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the night before the wedding. But we do get a very great bit of wordplay, and I was like, these moments happen just far enough apart that I was like, oh, I'm here. I'm still here for this movie, and then I had to like wait. So, the butler and Gene Wilder are like putting clothes away or something, and Gene Wilder goes, "Oh, he's a widower," and the butler goes, "He's widower than what?" And he goes, "No, he's just a widower." And he goes, "Yes, he's widower than what?" And I was like, "Oh my God, he thinks he's saying littler with a speech impediment." I'm here for this joke.
I enjoyed that, and the other one I liked was them whispering about the butler being hard of hearing and then having to cover it by saying that Gilda was, and so the butler yells at her for the rest of the movie. It's really stupid.
It's primo.
But it's like that is a Young Frankenstein joke. Like that is definitely a Mel Brooksy joke, but that is the only instances of that in this movie.
And the shouting joke is always great because it's immediately preceded by the butler speaking in a normal tone to like 3 or 4 other guests and then turning to Gilda and screaming. And it's like, oh, we forgot that was a joke and now we're here again.
And Gilda always reacts as if she's been electric shocked, which is really good.
She's great. Like, she's just wonderful.
She is. I mean, she is. I know that a lot of people hold a lot of fondness for the vintage SNL stuff, but I have to say, having watched a few episodes of the original show in their entirety from the 70s, back when SNL did the 40th anniversary, a lot of that stuff has aged like fish, like really poorly.
In what way? And like, it's not funny, or it's like really inappropriate?
Like the first episode of SNL has a 4-part sketch called The Bees Waiting Room. And it's all the men in SNL dressed in bumblebee costumes, like cheap children's bumblebee costumes. And they're walking in a circle in a waiting room going like buzz, 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 buzz. And then a doctor comes out and is like, "Mr. Buzzington, it's a drone, and they're like, drone, and then the one guy like hugs it, and there are 4 separate cutbacks to this sketch that are each like 2 minutes to 3 minutes long. That identical joke until the last time it's like a queen, and they're like a queen, and then he picks it up the baby, like that's the whole sketch.
I wouldn't be mad at one of those.
Yeah, no, it's a funny idea one time, but I was like, oh, we're doing the bees again. Oh, we're doing the bees. We're doing the bees again. And then there was still more to come. So like, it's like Monty Python. It's like any sketch comedy, really. The truly memorable stuff lasts a long time. The rest of it is just utter trash. Like
disappears.
Yeah. Like going back and watching those old episodes it's tough. Like there's a lot of garbage. Just like current SNL, the hit rate is like 30% maybe, and that's a good hit rate on a sketch show, but if you're not watching it live in the moment, you're like, oh man, what is happening here? But Gilda is a shining star throughout a lot of that.
She kind of vocally reminds me of Ellen DeGeneres.
Yes, a little bit. I had that same note actually.
I was like, oh, I'd never like heard that before, and then she started speaking to someone, and it was just like, oh wow, Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah. So another couple arrives, which turns out to be Gene's cousin, and he's now dating Gene's ex-girlfriend, which is a weird thing.
Yeah, it like doesn't really get explained until after it's already started to be established amongst the characters.
Right.
Like everything else in this movie.
Yeah. Then the psychiatrist gets there, and then we have a pretty solid scene with Gene Wilder thinking there's a snake in his drawer, so he screams, and then we cut to Gilda and the butler running in to check on him, and he is astride a moose that's hung on the wall, like holding the antlers like handlebars.
A giant, like, Beauty and the Beast Gaston's Tavern moose.
Yeah. And the butler goes in, and it's like just a random cord that was in the drawer for some reason.
Yeah, I needed a little more explanation. Like, yeah. I wanted this movie to end with, like, the end of a Psych episode when Sean is like, very clever, you think all of that happened. Here's how it really went down. And then, we get the flashback in like, a grayscale.
Yes. Also, that, we haven't done it yet on the show, although certainly one day we will, but I saw a video where people were talking about Columbo, the Peter Falk show, and his whole thing is, like, he has the line of questioning, and he goes to leave, and he's like, but just one more thing. And then he, like, pulls out the salient piece of evidence that he's been sitting on. And as I was watching the video, I was like, oh, man, this is totally, like, Psych was totally just Columbo, but with, like, other, obviously, more humor and bits and stuff.
Yes.
But, so Charlie, Gene's cousin, can't afford to get married.
Trying to remember these names is a fool's errand. I'm just going to put that out there.
Okay, well, Gene's cousin can't afford to get married, and this is like a large cause for concern for him. And then Gene goes in the hallway, and he gets attacked with smooches by his ex-girlfriend, who's now dating his cousin, and she's just like going after him.
Oh, you say that like we know it's his ex-girlfriend.
Oh yeah, we have fully no idea who this woman is.
We know she's dating his cousin. And she kisses him on the cheek and is like, I'm so excited to see you. And then leaves.
Yeah. And then Gilda comes out and Gene is like, oh, it was the maid. And then the maid comes around the corner and is like, you son of a bitch. I saw you kissing that other woman.
But also is not wearing any lipstick because Gilda was like, why is there lipstick on your cheek?
Yeah, it was like bright red, classic red lipstick and just not. This movie's
classic
exhausting.
harlot red lipstick.
Yes.
Although it did give us a great wordplay line from Gilda Radner later. Oh, it was pink. It wasn't red. It was pink.
Yeah.
Where Gilda asks the character who's Gene's ex. She's like, oh, what color is your lipstick? And she goes, passionate pink. And Gilda says, yeah, why don't you quit passionate around?
So then there's a third couple in the midst, and they're smooching as well.
I couldn't tell you who they were related to or what their relationship was. If I knew who they were related to, I just know I think they were married. It was a magician and a woman.
Yeah, and the magician is apparently world famous because Gene's ex-girlfriend knew who he was, like, right off the bat.
Like Chris Angel level.
Yeah. So Dom DeLuise in drag is like, all right, here's the Andrew's rolling his eyes, is like, all right, here's the scenario. We got a
slides
werewolf.
down the banister first.
I
You
did
missed
like the
that
banister
gem.
slide. I will give him the banister slide. I'm here for that as a character trait. It was pretty funny. He's like, look, there's a werewolf in our midst, and then he kind of tells the backstory of this werewolf thing, and then he starts talking to Gilda Radner, and then Gilda Radner is like in time with him, and I'm like, wait, are we gonna do a time warp? And then they do like a shitty time warp that leads into like a old school wavy hands Broadway type thing.
Yeah, it's a weird dance. You're talking about the time warp, the dance. Let's just clarify that for the audience.
I think people know what the time warp is. Like, friggin', let's do the time warp again. The Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes, I know, but the way you
Just
phrase
a hop
it,
to the
sounded-
left and a skip to the right. I think people knew what I meant when I said doing the time warp.
I thought you said a time warp moment. So yeah, it's this really great like out of nowhere vaudeville number that it's implied like everyone knows this song, much like the YMCA or the Hokey Pokey.
No, it's not everyone, though, because most people are just watching, and Gilda and her know the choreo.
But I thought everyone was like singing along, like clapping and humming.
If they were, I missed that, but okay.
Gilda Radner is wearing a fabulous dress.
I see. I have a different note in that the dress makes her look like one of those Victorian paintings because it has this huge frilly collar.
I thought the collar should have been bigger.
If the collar was any bigger, she'd look like a dog with stitches.
No, I wanted full on like spitter dinosaur realness. It's a black velvet dress where it's a white with black polka dot like ruffle collar that goes all the way around her neck, and then it's also a big panel in the front with ruffles. It's great.
It's something, all right. And then as they're dancing, Gene sees the Wolfman out the window and starts screaming.
No, he sees the eye lights in the magician.
Yeah. Oh, well, okay. But isn't that the Wolfman?
No, I don't.
Okay.
The magician came into the house with eye lights, and that's what he used to hypnotize the maid.
Right.
And then
right.
he had them
I think
again
at that point
the-
I was
in this ballroom.
I think I was assuming that made him the Wolfman at this point of the movie.
We can make a lot of assumptions. I'm down to just make assumptions about this movie.
So then there's this weird thing that comes up where there's like a nephew who's a crossdresser, which is fine in another movie, but when your main female character or your second female lead is a man dressing as a woman and your audience knows that, it's hard to like, because like I was waiting for the reveal that Dom DeLuise is like, and I'm Dom DeLuise. And then I was just like, who and what is happening here? Like,
Yeah.
but it's hard in a movie where a character is a crossdresser because one of the main actors in this movie is also a crossdresser, and it just makes it confusing for the audience. Like, are we supposed to know that's Dom DeLuise or not supposed to know that?
Yeah, it was another level of like, why was that the choice you made? You already have these 7 things. Like, you can't also throw that in there and expect us to be cool with it.
Yeah, it's like the world's most annoying stew is what we're dealing with. It's just a very annoying stew. So
I thought you meant a person, Stu, and I was like, I'm not sure who you're referring to.
yeah, come on,
like-
Stu, get it together.
I was like, who is Stu?
So the power goes out while they're in the ballroom, and everyone's like, well, time to go to bed, even though as far as we're concerned as an audience, it's like 8:30 in this movie. And so Gilda and Jean say goodnight to each other, and she's like, look, this house is kind of scary. I know that we have this rule, we're not supposed to share a room, but if I get scared, I'm going to come in there with you. So if you feel someone in bed next to you, cuddling you, don't worry, it's just me. Which means immediately I know we've got a Chekhov's cuddle situation happening in this movie. Yep. And I was honestly like, I wish that we had the, like, again, we talked about this not long ago, but I wish we had the foresight to think of some of these things 4 years ago, because, like, I would love a running list of all the Chekhovs we've encountered. Like, if someone out there has been keeping tabs, get in touch. and we will absolutely give you credit for it. Like, I 100% will put your name out there as the person who compiled that. But there's so much weird Chekhov's introductions we get on the show. It's really one of my favorite things.
It really is.
But Chekhov's cuddle might be among the top 10 weirdest.
It is. I'm trying to remember. We had a weird one recently, like within the past 6 months, and now I can't remember.
Right. But anyway,
so Gilda, knows what the floozy character will say is up to, and is having none of it.
She knows she's about to go after Jean.
She's like, look, she's gonna do some stuff. It's cool. Play it cool. And goes into her room, and as soon as her door shuts, the other woman's door opens, and she jumps out to hug and kiss Gene Wilder, and Gilda Radner instantly throws her door open and is like, I just can't sleep. I think I'll stand in the hallway all night till I fall asleep. And the woman's like, well, fine, I will go to bed. And she does, and so Gilda goes to her room. Gene goes to his room. The woman opens her door, goes out, and then turns to face the door to close it slowly, and when she turns around, Gilda Radner is directly behind her, glaring at her.
Like movie villain style, right behind her.
It's beautiful. And she's like, go to bed. She's like, yes, I will do that.
Yeah, that is one of the best moments of this. So there's a brief chat about werewolves with Jean, and then we cut to Gilda getting ready for bed, and she starts doing a shadow puppet of Donald Duck, and she's just doing Donald Duck voice to the point where I was like, doesn't Disney own that? She says Donald.
I don't know how. Well, he later says Donald Duck.
Right.
There's a lot of reference to Donald Duck.
Yeah, I didn't know. She's full on doing a Donald Duck impression, which I do not do a very good one. But she is a very good Donald Duck. Yeah, but hers is excellent, but I just didn't know how it was in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And then we cut to Gene Wilder getting ready for bed, and this is the weirdest pre-bed ritual.
Someone comes behind Gilda Radner.
Oh, right. It's the psychiatrist, and he's like, I need your help
to shadow
solve this problem.
Pop up behind her, yeah.
Yeah. But Gene Wilder has the weirdest pre-bed ritual I've ever seen in a movie or real life, in that he gargles, but then he spits it into a cup that he keeps on his bedside table. What is that backwash cup for?
Bro?
What are you going to need that for in the middle of the night?
There's clearly running water. It's not like you have to go down the hall or downstairs to get to a sink.
He
come on,
starts
bro.
the gargle in front of a sink and walks away from the sink with a cup so that he can spit in it and put it next to it. It's the weirdest of the many weird things we've seen on this show. This is amongst the weirdest. So
gross. Oh, we also missed earlier where the Wolfman is down in the cellar and he's talking to someone. We can only see a hand. And he's like, look, if you want to kill him yourself. You don't have the guts to do it. And then he gets stabbed. And we only hear a person whisper that they want Gene Wilder dead. And I thought it sounded like the lady character, the one who's married to the magician.
Yes, I did too.
But nothing is real in this movie.
So next to Gene in the bed, which the scene is not lit like you turn the lights off, which makes this especially weird. This should definitely be in the dark, but it's not. It's in practically midday daylight. And a very large, heavy man is laying in the bed next to Gene Wilder, and he starts groping this fat man, and is like, "Oh, darling, I knew you would come in here, and I'm so glad you did, and let's get frisky." And it's a dead, cold man body, Gilda Radner
at her svelte woman.
Yeah, Gilda Radner's max weight is 71 pounds. She's a very tiny human being. She's particularly small in this movie. And this person is this person is Dom DeLuise large. This is worse than Wesley in The Mask being unrecognizable to Buttercup. If you can't tell your waifish wife apart from a large man, I don't know what disease you have, but I'm so sad for you.
You shouldn't get married.
Yeah. So he doesn't figure out that it's a cold, dead man body until he rolls on top of it, to dry hump it, and it's that's not Gilda Radner. Yeah, dog, you should have known that ages ago.
We're kind of silver lining it. He definitely was in the midst of that when he discovered. He was kissing all up on the belly for some reason.
Yeah.
And he's reacting as though he's being touched. We
Yeah,
also
no,
saw
it's-
we also saw the corpse's hand move. So not a real corpse.
No. But then as Gene goes to dry hump it, a hand comes out of the wall with a knife, and then he sees that it's a dead body and kind of shrieks in terror and rolls away. At which point,
The butler.
yeah, the butler is like, "Oh, there's nothing wrong," and he goes in to check, and the body is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the only cool effect in the whole movie, which is Gene sitting in bed, and then a monster walks down the wall above his head.
Oh, yeah.
And leans over into his visage, and Gene Wilder's like, "It's all my imagination. It's all my imagination. It's all my imagination. I just need to touch it and it'll go away." And he reaches out and touches it and comes back with like a fistful of monster snot that he's like grabbed this monster's nose, and then he starts having a full-on meltdown.
Basically, his character was just having panic attacks, and
Yeah.
nobody was and he had the worst support system, basically.
Yeah, no, he gets no help from anybody in this movie because they're all screwing with him for experimental purposes for some reason.
And we don't know who was screwing with him. We don't know what the plan is. Like, there was never. We needed the establishing. Like, here's how we're gonna spook him at the old mansion. Like, we needed that rundown.
Or it needs to be a plan that's been put in place like well before Gene gets there. Like Gilda needs to be in on it. She needs to know what's up. And as an audience member, we have no idea what's real and what's fake for this like whole movie.
And not in a fun way.
No, it's not like a fun, confusing like who done it. It's just like I literally don't know what's happening in this dumb movie kind of situation.
Yeah, that's why I wish he had been like, here's how we're going to spook him. So the audience could be like, wait, Gene, that's not part of the trick. You in danger, girl.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So he ends up getting walled into his room. Like he opens a door and there's a brick wall there, and then his piano starts playing, and outside, like twirling around in the courtyard, is Gilda in her wedding dress.
Like floating ethereally.
Right. And then he's kind of like looking at a mirror and seeing her through the mirror, and then the mirror is a portal, and he like is able to step through it
To outside to the like mystical haunted forest.
And
where
then
a hand grabs him.
Yeah, the dress is on the ground. He picks up the dress, like looking for Gilda, and a hand shoots out of the earth and chokes him. Apparently,
it's just so much confusion.
Yeah. Also, apparently, Gilda Radner didn't get to wear a wedding dress for her wedding to Gene. I don't know why.
I read that. Yeah.
Yeah, but she apparently had the photographer for the film shoot an album of her in the dress with Gene for their like to have wedding photos, which I thought was kind of sweet.
I love that.
So he runs away from the hand, and he ends up riding a slide, which I guess is a coal chute, into the basement. And he finds Francis's body. Francis is the cousin. I wrote that name down here. The cousin who likes to cross-dress. Francis's body is in there. And then the butler is like, what are you doing down here? And Gene Wilder's like, look, I found a body. He's like, you murdered a guy? And Gene Wilder's like, no, I didn't. I found the... So...
Remember earlier when I said there was a dead body in my room?
This is the dead body. So he knocks out the butler, who falls like into the coal chute, except his knees are hanging over the edge of it. And then these police come downstairs, and Gene Wilder is like half in this coal chute and half out, but it's set up in such a way that it looks like the butler's legs are his. And so there's like a real Whose Line Is It Anyway sequence where the legs are moving and Gene Wilder's... He's like talking into one like a microphone.
Because the police say, hey, don't stand up. You stay seated right there. And he's like, seated? Yes. Yes, I will.
Yeah. And so he convinces these real stupid local cops that he is fine and there isn't a dead body and an unconscious man in that coal chute with him. And then the werewolf shows up and starts attacking Gene.
In today's world, we know when all the celebrities are getting married and stuff. But they were like, who are you? And he's like, you don't recognize my voice? I'm practicing lines. I'm this radio actor. I'm like, oh, awesome. That's cool. I'm like, oh, wait, I know who you are. And he's like, yes, I'm here to get married. And they're like, oh, you're getting married? And I was like, I thought we established in the beginning that there were all of their fans totally knew about their engagement and wanted to hear details. That's what the reporters said.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what they said. And also, like, if the dumb cop is such a big fan of this woman, he would probably know that she was getting married.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So this werewolf shows up in the basement and attacks Gene Wilder with a sword, which is like not how werewolves attack. So
yeah, it's like it's like a weird like silver dagger. It's real ceremonial looking.
Right. So they have this like fight,
Like,
and then
Gene, why would the werewolf do that, Gene? Think about it.
yeah, the werewolf would not use a friggin' sword or knife or whatever. Then we cut to
not like
outside
Lagoon
and
Man,
Gilda. Right. And then we cut to outside and Gilda is on like a rope harness like the last movie we watched. And she's like struggling and getting swung all around, which really looks uncomfortable for her.
Yeah, and she's like, I have to pee. Let me down.
So at this point, we've like revealed this ruse, and Gene finds this creepy mask that was the face of the ghoul that was in his bedroom. Although it doesn't explain how someone was able to walk down a wall the opposite of gravity.
Really hoped that one was going to get explained. Super didn't.
Nope. Why would
Good
it
thing
be?
you had a question about this movie. Moving on.
So he's like exploring in the woods, and he finds this storm generator in the woods that can like make lightning sounds and stuff, and makes flashes of light, which seems impossible, but okay.
You can make a flash of light in a small enclosed space at a haunted house.
Sure.
But this is as though it's like over the mansion lightning, which is even funnier when the cops are walking around like that lightning. It sounded like it came from the garden, and I was like, wait a minute. Let's think about the sentence you just said, sir.
Right.
You think the sound of the lightning came from the garden?
Yeah, it's preposterous. So the butler's back there hiding the bodies, and then the dumb cops show up.
Who was the second body?
I don't know.
Okay, as long as I wasn't the only one who didn't know.
I have no idea.
The cross-dressing cousin and this other dude.
Yeah.
So they pull a clue, and the butler's playing the accordion while Gene Wilder is dancing with his dead cross-dressing cousin.
Who the cops now think is Gilda Radner, which is kind of hilarious because it was a radio actor, and so they wouldn't know what she looked like.
Yeah, I liked that touch.
And then so the cops go away, they get fooled again, and then the werewolf attacks again, and then suddenly like everyone is outside looking for Gene, but the werewolf has trapped him in a coffin, and he's like trying to scream
Because
for help, and he can't.
Dom DeLuise saw the werewolf attack.
Yes.
And this is where I wrote two notes. My first note was, this movie feels kind of pointless, which is a shame given the cast. And two, I really wish I knew what the plan to scare him was supposed to be, because I don't know what the hell they're accomplishing right now.
Right, but like, if the plan was to lock him in a coffin, like, it feels like you went a long way to get to locking him in a coffin.
Yeah, we did a real roundabout thing here, buddy.
So then the
And it's a
dog
coffin
is
that
trying
has
to
a
dig him
glass
out.
window?
Yeah, it's a very weird coffin as coffins go.
I don't know why he wasn't knocking on the coffin.
Right, he can't scream, but he also doesn't make any like attempt to bang around to make noise. And then the dog starts like trying to dig him out. Like, I guess the dog knows where he is, but everybody doesn't seem to notice that. And then we flash back to Gene's mom's wedding, and he's like an 8-year-old boy and having like a real stress moment about his mom getting married.
And she says, your tie has to be straight so you can look good. Don't worry about lightning. Lightning can never hurt you. Everybody knows that. Cut to the wedding where lightning crashes through the window and kills his mother.
Yeah.
So that, I guess, that's what you picked, guys, to explain why he is obsessed with his tie being straight and is scared of lightning since he got engaged. That's what you picked?
And like, how did he possibly repress the memory of his mom getting killed by a lightning storm? Like, you would think that
in
would
front
be
of him.
Yeah, like if that happened to you, you would be the worst lightning fraidy cat in history.
Yeah, you would just never leave your house. You'd be like, I'm going to live underground in a soundproof room forever. This is me now.
But this is the point in the movie where like everything really starts unraveling for me, because we go inside and the cousin is on the phone like angrily yelling with the police, like, I don't care if you've been out here twice already, like, get out here, your help is needed. And Gilda sees that the phone is not plugged in, and then he realizes that she learns that information, and the turn happens, and it's like, oh, this whole time I've been trying to kill Gene. But that means that simultaneously in this movie, the psychiatrist had everyone's help, or thought he had everyone's help, trying to scare Gene, and this cousin is actually trying to kill him.
In a way that no one has noticed, like, in a way that the psychiatrist didn't notice things weren't going to his plan.
Right. So he confronts Jean, and it turns out like there's this lifetime of jealousy because of his relationship with the aunt, I guess, which is weird. And
which again was told, not shown.
Right. So like they fight, and then he picks up this priceless vase that we saw earlier in the movie, and then there's a gunshot, and the aunt is there with a shotgun, and she shoots him in the gut, and he falls out the window, smashing the vase that's priceless, obviously.
And we got a throwaway Chekhov's vase. Because in the beginning,
yes,
the butler was like, "This vase is worth $1,000 billion. Don't break it. It's very important."
There's only 3 in the whole world.
Yeah, so Dom DeLuise shoots him. He goes out the window, and he goes, "I spent $5,000 on that vase. There were only 3 in the world." And the butler says, "2 now." And he goes, "Yes, 2. Oh, well." And I was like, no, you can't do that. You cannot establish something and then just piss on it.
Yeah, things have meaning, movie. Things have meaning. So then we have the wedding, and during the wedding, we cut back to the recording booth, which is the actors playing their characters, and their characters are getting married. I don't know what that means. Did they really get married or not?
I think someone said they also got married. IRL.
I guess, but then I don't know what's real of anything in the whole stupid movie.
Because apparently none of it was real, but then the Wolfman was there at the end.
The narrator is like, and then they all lived happily ever after. Or did they? And this creature turns around and it's the Wolfman, and it does like a Michael Jackson at the end of Thriller, and then credits.
I'm so disappointed in this movie. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Had they put the Thriller laugh in over the werewolf, it would have been like 5% better. The like, bah, ha, 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 ha,
yeah, I could have accepted that.
Instead, yeah. So final thoughts?
No.
It's a mess. Like, this movie is atrociously bad. It's really bad.
If you want to learn how to not write a movie, watch this movie.
And like, we've watched a lot of bad movies on the show, and this is the kind of bad that I don't know that we've done too many of. Like, one I point to a lot is Parasite 3D, which tried to do a bunch of stuff and failed miserably at all of them. It's not a good movie, but they at least tried to do things. I genuinely don't understand
I know what they were trying to do. And like, I understand what Parasite 3D was trying to do. I was in the world with them and I knew what was going on.
Right. But I have genuinely no idea what they were attempting to do in this movie. Like, none whatsoever.
I couldn't tell you anything. I could tell you that Gene Wilder and Gilda Radner and Dom DeLuise were in this movie, and that there was a werewolf.
Right. It's not particularly funny. It's not particularly scary.
I feel like if you cut out all the funny moments, you could probably make like a 5 to 7 minute YouTube video. I could watch that.
Even that is like not like, go watch Young Frankenstein if you want to see Gene Wilder in a vintage haunted thing. Like, it's just so weird that, like, I have no idea what they were trying to do, but whatever it was they were attempting, they failed at it miserably.
Yes, 100%.
So thank you guys. You're not recommending this, right? I mean, that seems to go without saying.
No.
Yeah. Which between I know this is a dumb question, but like between this and Haunted Honeymoon, High Spirits?
Which do I recommend between the two?
Yeah.
Oh, High Spirits.
Yeah, which is also bad. It's like I feel very disappointed at my attempted spectacular combo.
The difference is, like, yes, High Spirits is bad, but like there's never, like, I'm not lost watching High Spirits.
Yeah, I'm not a dumb person, and the fact that I couldn't follow this movie is really like painful to my soul, I think.
Yeah, like with High Spirits, I was like, okay, this is a dumb movie about like a really like shoehorned romance between a man and a ghost. And a woman and a ghost, and it's I get what's happening here. I understand. I'm in your world. You explained it and you executed it. Not very well, but you did what happened. Yeah. And this movie is just sort of like, I can't follow it. I can't recommend, but I can't follow.
Right. Yeah. This is a really rough movie, amongst the worst ones we've ever done.
That's a shame.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for listening. Another Spooktacular in the books. We always look forward to this time of the year. I hope that you guys do too. Have a very happy Halloween. Don't forget to check out Who the F Are These Guys on YouTube. And most importantly, if you could do us a Halloween treat, We would love if you would review the show, and also tell 2 friends. Find your favorite episode, send it to people, and be like, hey, listen to these guys make jokes about 80s movies. We would really appreciate that.
And if you dress up as someone from the 80s, or something I might be interested in general, you know what I like, guys. Tweet at us at DissectThe80s.
Yeah, get at us, and we'll share your costumes. That's a great idea. I'll be sure to share ours closer to Halloween as well. If you want any other things, facebook.com/dissectingthe80s, dissectingthe80s.com has all that information. You can also call in 856-DISSECT and get in touch with us that way. Our next episode comes to you on November 6th. In celebration of the release of Thor Ragnarok, we thought we'd get down with a little Jeff Goldblum.
I think you mean Cate Blanchett Ragnarok.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's say the title correctly.
No problem with that whatsoever.
We will be talking about Earth Girls Are Easy.
Another weird Jeff Goldblum role. Very excited to hear Andrew's hot takes about Jeff Goldblum go viral and nationwide.
Even more people.
We're going to lose every fan of this show once they hear about your opinions about Jeff Goldblum. But we will get to that next time.
I got a YouTube show. I got to get that sweet, sweet traction going.
That's right.
YouTube stars gets interviewed with Jeff Goldblum.
We will see you guys on November 6th. Thank you again for listening. I have been Trip Lano.
I will always be Andrew Lano.
Until November 6th.
Don't you forget about me.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production.